So Good afternoon, comrades, and welcome to another session of our Medical Laboratory Without Borders, the mentorship program that the professional body has instituted, ensuring that we
Good
get
afternoon,
experienced
comrades,
people to share with us.
and welcome to another session of our Medical Laboratory Without Borders.
Right, sorry about that. We are trying to broadcast also on our YouTube page. So I was getting the feedback over here. So today we are going to have a session with one of our own. In fact, he is actually a mentor by all standard. And I don't know, do we have Richard Benjan? Benjan. Ben, are you around?
No, please, I'm here.
Great. So I think after just the introduction, you take over, and maybe the latter part of this meeting, we are having one of the suppliers supporting this particular session of the mentorship program. So he'll be around to do a presentation to the lab scientist. So as we said, this is going to be a discussion into the professional life of Richard Bekpa Duneeh. I say he's a mentor. He's been a senior, he's been everything, he's been a colleague, a friend. If you even look at the poster, the teeth is always on. Yet to see when he has ever been angry. I know he could because he's human, but He takes whatever makes him angry. I've not yet seen that, right from KN University through Comfort Anoche and to these days. So I want to say that you will learn a lot today. You will share a lot with us, and all should be open up. Let's invite our colleagues to come on board and listen to this great professional of ours. Now that he's impacting life into students of the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho. So we are privileged to host him for this session of our mentorship program. Just take note that this is also being shared on our YouTube page. Also, it's available on our Facebook page. And it's just going to be there for posterity. So, Ben, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we can allow up to some 4 minutes so that by 4:20 we can take off and you take over the session. And hopefully by 1 hour, 15, 20 minutes time, we can wrap up the discussion and have some 15 minutes for the presentation from the sponsor. Okay,
Okay,
so
all right, that's fine.
we just take note and do that. And everybody should know it's going to be recorded, it's going to be kept on our Facebook page, and we can always get back to it and share. Invite anyone you think that will benefit from it, especially students and all professionals alike.
the following month.
Yeah, Senior John.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah,
I think we can proceed now.
If our mentor is available and ready, you can
Okay.
take and start a communication.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you and good afternoon to all of us. We are welcome to this session. I think Dr. Edujesi has already given us a brief introduction of our guest for today, who we are going to have a very frank and a friendly discussion with. But I would do a formal introduction. Richard Duneeh is a trained medical laboratory scientist from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. Currently, he is a lecturer at the University of Health and Allied Health Sciences, HO. Prior to him joining academia, he had worked for almost 2 decades at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. He is an educator, a mentor, a life coach, and has been involved in shaping and modeling the academic and professional path of many young people. He has also been involved in training of over 500 laboratory colleagues across the country in malaria microscopy, in the capacity as a supportive supervisor and malaria microscopist. Apparently, our guest has both local and international visibilities as a scientist and as an academician. He is proudly affiliated to the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, and I must admit that he has served in several capacities. He is also a member of the Allied Health Professional Council and also a faculty member of the West African Postgraduate College of the Medical Laboratory Science, affiliated to the Hematology Faculty. He has served in many leadership positions, both as a student. He served as the MELSA president of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists. He also acted as the Ashanti Regional Secretary, rose through the ranks as Organizing Secretary, Ashanti the chapter chairman for Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, and ultimately serving as in the highest capacity as the Ashanti Regional Chairman at a point. In his professional life, he has interest in breaking complex things down to levels that can be understood by others. Colleagues, join me welcome our guest and speaker for today, who we are going to have interaction with, Richard Duneeh. Richard, I don't know if you can hear me. You can unmute your microphone and you share your thoughts with us. Hello, Senior Richard.
Hi. Hello,
all right,
Bernard.
you are welcome. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We are grateful to have
I trust
you
you are doing
in our midst.
well.
Yes, by God's grace, we are doing very well, and I hope you are fine too.
Very well, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for honoring our invitation and then being part of us to share your life experiences with us. I've gone through your profile as I've read, but we want to hear from the horse's own mouth. If you could give us a brief history of your personal life, your academic life, and then your experiences as far as the profession and then academia is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bernard. I would want to use this opportunity to thank you as a moderator. I would want to thank the leadership of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists for this great initiative. I would want to thank all colleagues on the platform. I would exceptionally mention Professor Rebecca Baston. She's a friend of the profession. She's a professor of microbiology She's in the US, but when she learned I'm on this program, she is on the stream with us. So Professor Baston, thank you for making time to be with us. Even with these time differences, you have chosen to be with us. Well, there are a few things I'm going to put across. Then following that stream, if there are things that you would want me to clarify, I would want to talk about that. Richard Duneeh is like anybody, right? Anybody on this platform. Growing up, I went through everything that every young man went through. I played the football. I did everything that every one of us did. I would talk about my educational life. I'll talk about practice life. I'll talk briefly about my transition from practice on the bench into academia. I would go through a few things that every one of us who seeks to do well, all right, would have to be interested in going through. And then we would try to agitate our minds and see if there are things that we could take home as a take-home message. So I had my basic and secondary education in Takwa in the Western region. Now, those of you who are a bit older, you would recall that somewhere in 1996, there was a problem in the university. So university lecturers went on strike for, I think, 2 years. And so if you were done with your senior secondary school examination, you had to stay home for 1 year and then do university entrance examination. So I wanted to skip that part. So I went to Accra Technical University, then Accra Polytechnic. So I first pursued science laboratory technology. Take note, that was not medical laboratory technology, that was science laboratory technology. Now they are pursuing medical laboratory technology, but then it was science laboratory technology. Science laboratory technology because I grew up in a mining community of Takwa. And then I had a scholarship from one of the mining companies in the enclave. So my interest was to go do something. Recording in progress. My interest was to go do something in the laboratory and then get back to work with the mines. And so whilst in school, when school was on vacation, I would go to the company that gave me scholarship to go and work as an intern there. When I was done, I was posted to do my national service in the Ashanti region. As fate would determine it, I was posted to a facility, Fuase Health Center. When I went there, they didn't have a lab in the facility. And so I went to the National Service Secretariat, and then I was reposted to Komfanoche Teaching Hospital. When I joined Komfanoche as a national service personnel, we did not have people with first degree qualifications. Then the highest degree people had in the laboratory was diploma. In Ghana, then our training was at certificate in medical laboratory. So I learned that those who excelled were sponsored by Ghana government to go to the UK to do diploma. So the highest people then in the lab had diploma in medical lab. And then I had a science laboratory background. I was not a medical lab scientist. So when I went, of course, characteristic of me, I was a fast learner. So I learned a lot of the practices of the lab. I was very punctual. I was hardworking. So it didn't take me long to gain the trust, to gain the approval of my seniors and my bosses. And so I recall vividly, my boss then, Professor Opoku Okra, the late, may he so rest in peace. 2-3 months into my national service, he would tell me, I would want to maintain you. Would you want to stay? Would you want to stay? And I told him he should give me time. So I was there with the mind that after my national service, I was going back to the mining sector. That was my plan. And then along the line, I had interest of going into industry. So I had prepared my CV and all that. I had applied to Coca-Cola Ghana Limited. I had applied to Pepsi-Cola Ghana Limited with my background in science laboratory technology. And I had invitations from these companies to come for interviews. So I went to Cook. They had a branch in Kumasi, Ahensai. And when I went after the interview, the managing director asked me a question. He asked how much I expected to be paid. So I told him, this is my national service allowance then. And then we were having ADHA, additional duty working hours. Then it was calculated and paid to us in the facility. So I added the two. And the man said, I wasn't serious. Small boy, what did I need that kind of money for? So I realized that I didn't have a part in that area. So 2 days after that, I had a call from Pepsi-Cola and I told myself I was not going to honor this invitation because if Coca-Cola cannot pay me, I don't think Pepsi would be able to pay me. So I didn't honor that invitation. So now we have people who would leave school and then they would form unemployed graduate associations. At our time, I think that there were a lot of jobs. They wanted the human resources. So when we were done with our national service, we were all invited into an exit summit. I remember then the CEO of Confanoche was the president advisor on health now, Dr. Nsia Asari. He was the CEO of Confanoche. So he met us. When he met us in the exit summit, he said we were over 40 national service personnel then in all. And he said he was surprised none of us had put in an application for a job in Confanoche and that if you were interested, we should apply and he was going to recruit us. So we applied and then we had the job. Now, in my line as a staff, that is in 2002, as a staff of the hospital, I realized that yes, I was being mechanical. I was doing the work as I was instructed to do, but I did not understand the science behind what I was doing. Remember, my training was in science lab tech, which was largely industrial, but I had found myself in a medical setting. So I would just do this, do this, do this. I was just doing them. Then we didn't have automation. So if I go to work, I'll prepare my draping solutions. I would pipette them into the tubes. I would pipette my text fluids into the tubes. I'll clean my slides, get everything ready. We take samples. You would do your dilutions, prepare your films, do your staining. I was doing all that, but I did not understand the science behind. So after working for some time, I realized that, well, in that setting, in the health laboratory. So KNUST had introduced the degree in medical lab science. So I applied and then I gained admission into KNUST to do the degree in medical lab sciences. Today, many of you, when you have diploma and then you are pursuing a degree program, you would do a 2-year top-up because you have a diploma. Then that was not the case. Even though I had a diploma or anybody who had a diploma wanting to do a degree will start from the first year and do a whole 4-year program. So I did a 4-year degree program after my 3-year diploma program and my many years of work experience. I went to KNUST to do the BSc Medical Lab Science. Now, one interesting thing, and then we went to class with very young, very smart, very intelligent people. So I remember very well, there were some courses So subjects like algebra, statistics, they would be scoring 95 over 100. They are getting their A's. They saw them as average boosters. Myself and my other matured colleagues really struggled with the basic sciences and then the mathematics because we were getting rusty after school and then working for many years. So I remember myself and others, we would get some TAs to help us just to get our passes and then move on. But you realize that from second year when we started doing the technical stuff, we picked up and we were doing well. And so I had my first degree, thankfully. I came back to work and then along the line, after working for some time, I was stationed in the hematology department. Ordinarily, I was very interested in microbiology because in the microbiology lab, you see things happen. You see growth, you see cultures done, you see sensitivity tests done, you see growth, you see things happening. And so I was very interested in microbiology, but when Convanoche employed us, they decided where to place us without considering your interest. So they sent me to hematology. And one thing about me is wherever I find myself, I would want to be a good fit there. And so a lot of adaptation and a lot of adjustment. And so I started developing interest in hematology. So after my first degree, when I came back, I developed interest in hematology. Like I said, we met people who were trained on the bench. They didn't have certificates, they didn't have degrees, but they were very good at what they did. You should remember our work is both a science and an art. The science is what our lecturers and our teachers, our tutors would teach us in school. The art is what you learn and get conversant with. So example, it is very easy for anybody to tell you that when you are preparing a thin film, you would hold your spreader at 30 to 45 degrees. But when you are giving blood sample and you are giving spreaders and you are asked to prepare the film, that's when you would know that the individual teaching you knows it himself or does not know it. So we were privileged to have people who were on the bench for very long and they really knew what they did. And they were very kind and generous in teaching us. And so we took our time to go through the process. We learned it. We had degrees, but we were with people who did not even have certificate programs, but they knew the job. They took their time to teach us. What am I driving at? I'm driving at the fact that, yes, you could have attained a degree, you could have attained an MLS.D, but it is extremely important for you to learn the job. You need to learn. You need to learn. Irrespective of who teaches you, if they know what they are doing and they teach you, it is a skill set you have acquired and nobody can take it from you. In fact, it is not written and pasted on your forehead that you were taught by somebody who doesn't have a degree. It is not the case. What is important is the skill set that you have acquired. And when it becomes necessary, you can put it to use to the service of humanity. So after working for some time, I went back to do an MPhil in hematology. I had then developed interest in hematology. And so then we did not have graduate school program in hematology. We had for microbiology, we have for PEMPAT and then other specialties in the lab, but we didn't have for hematology. I had the assurance from the department it was going to be introduced. It was going to be introduced. So I was not in a hurry at all to do any other thing. I was very comfortable in hematology now because all my life I had been working in the hematology lab after my internship. And so I was now very comfortable in hematology. So I wanted to pursue higher education in hematology. And so when the PhD was in MPhil was introduced in hematology, I took opportunity to enroll as one of the pioneering members of the department. And thankfully, we went through it successfully too. Now, after that, because there aren't many people in the field of hematology with MPhil degrees, I was sought after by a lot of institutions, and all my colleagues at the time, we were the pioneering class, so many of us were sought after. And so I had offers, offers from some tertiary institution to join academia. I gave it a serious consideration because I love bench work. I am a bench person. I was a technician. I became a scientist with a degree, and then I had further acquired an MPhil in hematology with many years of experience. So I took advantage of the opportunity in University of Health and Allied Sciences, UHAS, and joined academia. I joined academia. It comes with its own challenges too as well. But I would want to talk a little about the transition from the bench to academia. Whilst I was on the bench, I took interest. I was very interested in building myself. And so I described that as going through the process. There are many people we see and we say, oh, they are cooked. They are there. They just didn't get there. They took their time and went through the process to make them who they are. So I took my time and I went through the mill. I remember whilst there were things I was very interested in. I was very punctual. I was very dedicated to my work I did. I was very interested. So I took interest in learning microscopy. And so a lot of people who went through KNUST, the early people who did medical laboratory science in KNUST, I held a diploma, but they were doing a degree program. They did rotations in our lab, and then I was one of the few people then who were privileged to be, let's say, bench people who were involved in their training. Now, some of these things, when you do, you think that you are just doing them, but there were things that many of them appreciated very well. Many years, 10, 15 years down the lane, I meet people and they tell me, you were the one who taught me how to take blood sample. You were the one who taught me how to prepare blood film. You were the one who taught me how to do microscopy. You taught me how to examine blood films. And I said, wow. There were things I did. I was interested in doing them. I learned them. And I think I got to know them well. And I taught them pretty well. And so people who encountered me in my practice life at Confanoche were people who would tell you today that, yes, I impacted their practice life. So I had the opportunity to be selected to join some professionals to be trained as supportive supervisors. So supportive supervision is a design program by the Ghana Health Service for people who are trained to go to facilities and then stay with the people on the bench, observe what they do on the bench whilst working. And then if gaps are identified, those gaps are filled. So I was privileged to be one of those people. And then along the line, we were pushed into malaria microscopy. So facilitators were brought from Kenya to come and assess our competencies. And then I was privileged to be selected as one of the best at the time. So I've been involved in training. And so whilst I worked, I have been invited once in a while to come and then help in facilitations in such trainings. I did not take it lightly. I built capacity in that area. I networked. I had the opportunity to travel to a few countries to be trained in this. I have had the opportunity to be selected by the National Malaria Elimination Program to go to Kenya to be assessed as an external, we have something we call external competency assessment for malaria microscopists. I have had the opportunity to go and be assessed. So I attained certification as an expert malaria microscopist. When you do that, you would go back 2 years to be assessed again, whether you still know your stuff. I have had the opportunity to go back again, and thankfully, I still know my stuff. So my certification is renewed. So I remain an expert malaria microscopist. I have been involved in many trainings across the length and breadth of this country. So we go to facilities and do trainings. We go to training institutions and do trainings. And whilst at this, I was invited by the then head of the department of the Medical Lab Science Department, now Professor Ochri Ademensa. What he did then was that if he identified something in you that he thought that was done in his department, he would invite you to come and teach. So anytime MedLab came University, they did laboratory diagnosis of malaria in the final year. So when they got to that topic, he invited me to come and teach. So I taught the student through, and then they came through the lab in Confanoche, and then we did the practical sessions too. So whilst on the bench, I had the opportunity to teach in the university. I was super proud because I had gotten the opportunity to impact the lives of students who were coming to join us. I am sure they were very happy with what I did. I had the opportunity again to go to the University of Cape Coast. All this time, all this time, I think I didn't have my MPhil then, no. So I went to UCC to teach on a sandwich program, and the sandwich students I encountered really said they enjoyed the way I did my things. I am a bench person, and so when I'm teaching, it is not too, yes, in academia, you need to be bookish, but you also ought to be very practical. So I am very practical in my approaches in teaching. And so I teach quite differently. And my students enjoyed me so very much. So when they introduced the MPhil program and I was applying, a school that I had taught in, a department that I had taught in, you should know that it should not be difficult for me to get admission. So I didn't struggle with admission. I am saying this because it is important that the talents and your abilities would open doors for you. You should know that your talent and your abilities would open doors for you. All right. And then the relationships you build with people are going to be extremely important for you, because the people you meet when you're going up are the same people you meet when you're coming down. I had people I taught when they were a degree student and then I was working. Many of them taught me when I went back to school to do my degree, to do my MPhil, and then even in my PhD programs. And so they were my student at one time, but I have been their student at another time. And so relationships are extremely necessary. You need to keep those ones in mind. In practice, on the bench, it's extremely important. It's quite flexible. It's interesting. When you come to academia, academia has got its own challenges. Academia is quite strict. You would work with strict timelines. There is nobody, they throw mails around and then you need to act on them almost immediately. It's got its own challenges. But if you are able to situate yourself well in there, it is interesting. When I was on the bench, yes, anybody who came on duty with me, I took time to schedule periods where I had engagement with them. So I had the opportunity to teach fewer people. But now in academia, I have the opportunity to teach over 100 students in a class at a go. And so I think that I am impacting larger number of people. There are a few ethos that we all need to commit ourselves to. One of them is that you ought to be disciplined. You ought to be very disciplined. You ought to be disciplined. You ought to be very punctual. You ought to be committed into self-tuition. There are things you'll be taught, but when you give yourself time and commit time, all right, to such things again, you become better at them. You become better at them. So many of us, after graduation, we do not learn anything again. And I think that it is something we need to take a second look at. We commit ourselves and we learn a few others after graduating. It is not that easy. It is not that difficult. You need to commit yourself, be interested, be focused. Whatever you seek to do, commit yourself to do. There are people around who are always ready and prepared to support you. All right. You need to find yourself mentors. You need to find yourself mentors. So whatever environment you find yourself, scan around, pick one or two people, tell them what you like about them, tell them how you want them to help you in your personal development. I am sure that many of the senior colleagues around would be prepared to help you. After all, today, we may be the senior ones around. Tomorrow, you'll be the ones that we'll be counting on. So it is our responsibility to bring you up to stages or to forms that you'll be very proud of in the discharge of your responsibility. When we were around on the bench, there were not many opportunities. So our training practically skilled us to practice life, because you did certificate program, you did diploma program, and then along the line, the degree program came out. And the thought was that once you go through medical lab science program, you are supposed to come and stay in the hospital and work. So many of us stayed on the bench for too long. Now, many of you who are on this platform, especially the younger ones, you need to be very clear in your mind what you want to do. If you want to stay on the bench, you should craft a career path for yourself. If you want to go into academia, you should carve a path for yourself. There are many of our colleagues who have gone into other fields and they are doing extremely well. So you should know the career path you want to choose. But I would want to talk briefly about practice life and then academic life. So because those are the paths that I have taken. I have been at both ends. I have been on the bench, like I said, for I think about 18 years before I joined academia. It's a very interesting place. It is interesting to know that you have been able to enter somebody's vein, taking blood sample, prepared blood films, examined, and seen malaria parasite reported appropriately, and then the patient is given medication and they get well. It is interesting to take blood samples, prepare films, and stain and examine, and say that a patient has AML, for instance, or CML, and they are managed well. It is interesting to examine film and say that somebody has sickle cell anemia, and the person is managed well. That is the satisfaction you get. You get to be networked with a lot of people, because in the hospital setting, right, people come and then once we work on them, they see us to be God, because there are many of them that despair, but you touch them, you take a sample from them, out of what you do, they get treatment and they get well. So they hold us in high esteem. It's a very exciting thing, but you don't have to get overly excited over it, so that you are thrown from a certain state of humility into arrogance. It's nice. If you want to stay on the bench, I would encourage. Now, the path is very clear. If you want to stay on the bench, decide what you want to do. Perhaps you want to do hematology like I did. You want to do microbiology, you have to do chempath. You want to do histology, whatever you want to do. Once you get your first degree, now we have the MLS.D, which is the part that is coming along. All right. So if you have the 4-year BSc, I would encourage that you do a 2-year top up to obtain your MLS.D degree. Once you have your MLS.D degree, you would have to go to the college, all right, the Ghana College of Medical Laboratory Sciences, or the West Africa College of Medical Lab Scientists, the Ghana chapter, and then you would specialize. Once you do this, you will change from the part of medical lab scientist, senior medical lab scientist, principal lab scientist, deputy chief, and chief, when in many regions there are only one chief. But once you are a specialist, your part is different, your salary, everything is different, and it is better and it is rewarding. So you become a specialist, and then you can go and then become a fellow so that you become a consultant in your chosen area. So if you want to stay on the bench, again, you would have your degree. If you don't have your MLS.D, please get it done. Go to the West Africa Postgraduate College of Medical Lab Sciences, and then you would specialize. That is the part you can choose. If you want to go into academia, like I find myself now, in my case, I spend so much time. When you are coming into academia as a faculty member, what would take you into the university as a faculty member is a PhD. You need a PhD to enter the university as a lecturer. And so if you don't have a PhD, you should be interested in working on it. Now, I didn't have a PhD entry. I had an MPhil. I had an MPhil in an area where there is scarcity. So people who have had MPhils in hematology and MPhils in pathology will admit you, because there are a lot of people who have PhDs in Kempa. There are a lot of people with PhDs in microbiology. And now there are training programs that have been mounted for hematology PhD. And so very soon, if you have an MPhil, nobody would recruit you into the university to teach hematology. You teach in your terminal degree. And so if you do microbiology PhD, if you are appointed in the university, you would teach microbiology. That is how the university works. And so if you have your BSc, let's say 4 years BSc, and your interest is to enter academia, I would encourage you that work for some 3-4 years. It's extremely important, because the wealth of experience that would give you is not measurable. That is the truth. That is what would make you appreciate the kind of product that you should be preparing to come out. Because if you have the work experience, once you are teaching, you have that in mind. And so you would tailor your teaching skill to prepare your product well. That's one thing you should be interested in. So if you have your BSc, all right, 4-year BSc, work for 3-4 years, garner the necessary experience. Once you have the necessary experience, enroll into an MPhil program, get your MPhil degree, and following that, get your PhD. Once you have your PhD, that is the basic requirement for you to enter the university. Once you enter the university with your PhD, again, you have the opportunity to serve for a certain number of years. You have responsibilities, or the responsibilities of every lecturer. One is teaching, 2 is research, the other one is community service. There is one that is undocumented but very important. It's like you have a pastoral responsibility over them. And so once you have, if you need, let's say five papers, all right, for promotion, once you have your papers, you have your community service, like what I am doing now, this mentorship thing, I would capture it as a community service I have rendered. So when I'm presenting my dossier for promotion, this will be captured as a community service I have rendered. I go to the community, I give talk, I give education. I would capture all those as community service. The research, the teaching, you teach, your student would assess you. Now in the university, we have peer review. So where I'm teaching, there are times I have colleague lecturers who would come and sit in and then assess me. So all these are put together. So from a lecturer, you'll be promoted to senior lecturer, also professor, and then you become a full professor. So these are the two parts that I have experienced. I have experienced practice on the bench, and I have experienced what happens in academia. I wouldn't want to bore you so much. I would bring my talk to an end, and then I would give you the opportunity to ask me any question at all that is related to practice life. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Bernard, please take over.
All right, thank you very much, Senior Richard. And in fact, you have a very rich history and then accounts. I have really enjoyed it from the very beginning up to this point. And I believe that all colleagues on call have equally done the same. But there are some few things that I would want to ask. Then later on, I would also open the floor for other members to add their questions or contributions or suggestions, whichever may be applicable. But one thing that I have learned from, key thing that I've learned from you is that we should learn the job. We should learn the job irrespective of who is teaching us or irrespective of their qualifications and then the certificates that we have acquired. Because going through your accounts, I have realized that that has also helped you and contributed greatly to your achievement and what you have been able to do so far. But some few questions on your accounts. Would you say, in your account, you were saying that you did not have a PhD, or you had at the time MPhil, and you were you had the opportunity as a lecturer at UHAS. Now, my question is very simple. Do you think, or do you consider yourself as being lucky, or you really you think that you really worked for it? Then my second question would also be, considering your experiences on the bench, and now that you have also transitioned into academia, do you think that, yes, obviously, a lot of things have changed in practice or in the bench in terms of methodology, in terms of equipment and all that, there are advances in technology, so obviously things have changed. But in your own estimation, in your starting days in practice or on the bench and up to now, what do you think that has really changed, that has you think that we should know, and the youngsters should also get to know of this and then abreast themselves with it? So I'll leave you with these two, and later on I'll come with others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard, for the questions. Okay, you said I joined academia with an MPhil. Was it luck? Or was it true dint of hard work? I have never believed in luck in this life. I have never believed in luck. I believe that you prepare yourself, and when there is an opportunity, you take it. Prepare yourself, and when there is an opportunity, you take it. And so let me give you a typical example. When I went to UHAS, when UHAS invites you when you put in an application and they're inviting you, there are 3 major steps that you go through. The first one is that you come and do a teaching demonstration. So at my time, there were about 25 lecturers. They brought 4 students who were seen to be very intelligent, some of the best students in the department. And then you would go and teach them as a class. You go and you teach. After that, they would ask 25 lecturers would score you. So when they score you and you excel, then they would escalate it to a dean's meeting. You meet the dean. So you would have an interaction with the dean after you've had the teaching demonstration. If the dean finds you prudent, then he push you up with an appointment for you to meet the university council. All right, the university council. That's the owners of the university, the VC, the pro-VC, the registrar, and all the professors. So you go and you meet them, and they ask you all the questions they want to ask you. And so if you are able to meet their expectation, that is when they appoint you. So you cannot go through all these things with luck. You ought to prepare yourself in expectation of an opportunity so that when the opportunity comes, you take it. I told you I had been on the bench. I had taken my time. I had gone through the mail. And so I knew technical work. If you asked me questions, technical work, I would experience, because whilst on the bench, I was teaching. I taught whilst I was on the bench. I had the opportunity to teach in a university when I was not, in two different universities when I was not a lecturer, because lecturers and heads of departments there saw me teach and they were impressed with me. So they gave me opportunity. And so that built my CV. And so when I had the opportunity to be invited to go to UHAS to do the teaching demonstration, I never struggled at all. I never struggled. So I think that I was prepared. And then the opportunity came and I took it. It was not luck at all. The other thing has got to do with the change. If I got you correct, the changes between the time I practiced, especially the early days, and now. Now, what I want everybody on this platform to take notice of is this. I said that when we started working, or when I started working, that was as far back as 2001. So I worked from 2001 to 2019 before joining academia, 2001 to 2019. Then we didn't have automation. Everything we did was manual. And I told you that in the hematology unit, right? When this time, when you have blood sample in an EDTA anticoagulated tube, you want complete blood count, you just aspirate, and within a minute, you have like 26 parameters a minute. We did not have that luxury. Then you would have your drafting solution, you do your dilution, and then you have a spectrophotometer to measure absorbance to obtain HB. Then you have your text fluid. So you did dilution and count white cells and calculate WBC. Then you would prepare thin film. You would prepare thin film, stain, and do manual around. And so whilst I was on the bench, there was no cell I could not see. Let's be sincere with ourselves, those of us on this platform. There are many of you, if you ask them how monocytes look like, they will not see eosinophil, basophil. They don't know them. They know them theoretically, but practically, they have not examined films, or they have not done manual differential before. Now, the automation procedure. And so if you understand this manual procedure, you have a better appreciation of what is happening now. And so now what can we do as scientists? What we can do is that we need to get good understanding. So for instance, if you are given CBC results, you should be able to interpret it very well. You should be able to talk about that if there are flagging systems. What do they mean? What intervention effect of those flagging systems? And I think that if you are able to do these, show up, but we have the nerve, right, to sign them off and send them. What type of scientists are we? We are being robotic. We are not being scientists. If you have flagging system, you should be able to prepare a thin film, thin, and examine microscopically and see what is actually happening, and put in an intervention between now and then. What happened in the yes, I can see some hand, and then let's hear you.
Hello.
Yes, Bernard.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. I will definitely open the floor for. I can see some hands up. Relax. You would have the opportunity to come in with your questions or contribution. But Rich, let me also find out from you. You know, in your accounts, I'm looking at your transition between practice and then academia. I think that's at the point in your appointment at Fonfanoche, you had worked in the hematology lab or department for some time before you even proceeded to pursue your degree in KNUST, then later with your MPhil. Now, this is my question. At what point did you actually develop interest in hematology? And is it because you were by default working um, at the hematology department? Maybe we have youngsters who are also coming and then learning from us. How would they also develop their interests, you know, choosing their specialty areas? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Right. So once again, interest would come in different forms. Interest would come in different forms. There are, and so we wish we were like them. And so what they do. There are others you would have well, sorry, it went off briefly. So when I was doing my rotation, I went to all the clinical units and I found microbiology to be interesting. Very interesting. And the reason I said was that you saw things happen live. All right, you culture and you did not see this in other labs, but I was pushed to hematology by default. And for me, as an individual, wherever I find myself, I would want to adapt, I would want to adjust, I would want to be a good fit in that system. And so once I was pushed to hematology, I told myself that I was going to learn and be relevant there. So initially, I was just working this to this. Somebody else, a senior, this will do this. So I was doing my bits. I told myself I couldn't be at the lower level. Of my life. And so there was the need for me to build interest. But I noticed that I had deficiency, pushed me to go have my degree. When I was pushed into the department, I realized that this is where I find myself and that it was imperative for me to build interest, to build love in what I did. That's what happened. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let me remind all colleagues on call that this meeting is also being streamed live on YouTube, and we encourage all our members to visit the YouTube channel and then follow the discussions. This program is also proudly sponsored by Labmart. At a point they are here with us, we would also give them the opportunity to share their beliefs and thoughts with us. They are a leading supplier of medical laboratory equipment and an enabler of scientific discoveries in Ghana. So later on, getting to the end of the event, we would invite them to share their presentation with us. But Rich, let me still go on and then delve into some aspects of your life. In your account, you said that after you have acquired your MPhil and then opportunity came for you to consider teaching or to enter into academia, you had to toggle in between a lot of considerations. Now, my question is, what was the biggest consideration that you made before leaving the bench into academia? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernard. It was difficult for me. Like I told you, I enjoy bench work. I enjoy bench work. I enjoy teaching on the bench. I enjoy teaching and working. So I have students around me. We are talking and we are working. I enjoyed that. I would have loved to remain on the bench even as of now. But let me tell you some of the challenges that pushed me away. The time I had my MPhil, I think I was a principal medical lab scientist in my last year. And so the following year, I was due to be deputy chief. I was due to be deputy chief the following year when I had my MPhil. Now, when I graduated, I wrote a letter to my facility, my HR, that I had successfully completed my program and that they should upgrade my records. Well, I did not have an acknowledgement letter. One. Two, they flew an advert for people to apply for the rank of deputy chief and chief. I thought that at a principal medical lab scientist, and then I had 1 year to go to deputy chief, and then I had an additional qualification. I could have been promoted out of 10. So I put in an application. Again, even acknowledgement of my application did not happen. So I asked myself, I had about 20 years of my life to stay on the bench. I was almost deputy chief. Was I going to stagnate in that position for those 20 years? It was a difficult thing for me to stay in one position for 20 years. It didn't a different stream again. And so I was going to stagnate in that position for 20 years. It didn't make sense to me. I enjoyed teaching. I was teaching on the bench. And so I asked myself, can I take my teaching somewhere else where I would be more appreciated and where I was going to be more impactful? Yes, that was the consideration. So I said on the bench, I would have, let's say, 5, 10 students at a time. We'll be working and I'll be talking. But if I go into the classroom as a lecturer, like I told you, I have a class that is about 120. So I have a bigger population to impact than I would have been doing on the bench. So these were, and then of course, it pays better in academia than on the bench. It pays better in academia than on the bench. That is another fact. So yes, I'm better remunerated. I think that I have a better visibility and a few others. So those were the considerations.
All right, thank you very much. I think that we are really learning from you, your experiences and all that you have gone through in terms of your practice and then academia. Now, in your account, you also made mention that in your early days in KNUST, you were admitted together with some youngsters. And at that point, you were mature students or let me say, old men of the class. At a point, you also said that when it came to statistics, they were scoring higher grades and then Oluma, you are getting some small grades in your corner. How was the experience? Did you really feel intimidated? And how did the youngsters at that point in class also contributed and shaped your study life on campus? Thank you.
Bernard, it wasn't a pleasant thing. It wasn't pleasant at all. There were times I wish that somebody had told me to pack my things and go home. It was a difficult one because after school, like I said, many of us, once we leave school, we think that is also, we don't learn anything again. And so when you are picking up a higher degree, it becomes very challenging. And so you know what we did? They were young, some were 18, 19, and we were as grown men, all right, and all that. I remember they would tell us those are average boosters. They are scoring the 95, 94, 92, and we wanted just pass mark to go. And so I remember myself and my other colleagues, we would organize TAs, pay them to teach us these basic things our colleagues saw as average boosters. And so it was not a pleasant thing at all. It wasn't pleasant, I can tell you that. But hey, we had our passes and then we graduated eventually.
Okay, I can just imagine. I can just imagine. But some few other questions, then I will still open the floor. I can see a lot of people saying, okay. The last two, then I'll open the floor. Okay, so talking about your professional life, for you, I know you in our days in Care University when you served as the MELSA president and later on held several positions in the Ashanti region. But in your administrative days as the regional chairman of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, can you give an account of some of the things that you did, some of the policies that were put in place at your time, and how you feel that has contributed greatly to our profession? Hello, can you hear me?
Muted. Yeah, you were muted. Okay, fine. Okay. I can hear you now.
All right. So I just wanted you to give us a brief overview or account of your administrative days as the regional chairman of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, and then your contribution to the profession at that point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, muted again. Yes.
All right. I don't know. Can you hear me now, please?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I just wanted you to give us an account or an overview of your administrative days as the regional chairman of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists in the Ashanti region. I think that in your account, we lost it. So I just want you to,
Madam,
to some of the things that you did in your administrative days. Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Again, I had the opportunity to have been in KNUST. Whilst in KNUST as MELSA president, there were a lot of things we did. One of them that I was so proud of was the fact that when we were in school, there was a radio station on campus, and it was the medical student who had the opportunity to do education and all that there. But when I assumed office as MELSA president, one of the things that we were able to do was that we were able to strike a relationship with the managers of the facility. And we had a slot. And so our members went on the radio station to do education. Out of that, we had contracts from SRC. We did screenings for SRC. We had banks giving us screenings that we did. We had a lot of money. I remember when we were leaving school, we had a lot of money for MELSA. We had a lot of sponsorships that we had established for the association under my administration. But the greatest challenge I had as the president of MELSA in KNUST was that prior to me becoming president, there was a convention. You know, when you are coming to the clinical year at a when you are coming to the medical school hostel, people in the room, and there were others that had 4 or more in the rooms. Apparently, MELSA had to use association money to go and lobby so that MELSA people who went there had two in a room and all that. I did not find that sensible. And I was in the final year, and my classmates had that expectation that we were going to do that for them, to have that kind of rooms to be in. I said that no, it wasn't prudent, and that we were not going to use Mel's money to go and lobby for people to go and have luxury. I liken that to, in our time in the university, we had this in, out program. So you come to the university, you are accommodated in the first year. Following that, you have to go look for your own accommodation. So I liken it to a first year who was going to a second year. It's a private hostel. Why should we use association's money to go look for a hostel for a student? So it didn't make sense to me. And that didn't sit well at all with my mates, my classmates. And so I did not enjoy their support. But thankfully, I largely enjoyed the support of all other members of the association. And so, like you bear witness, we did a lot of things and we were very, very successful as executive. That is with MELSA. Now, in Ashanti region, because I had the opportunity to sit on the REC, Regional Executive Council, as a MELSA president, I understood it well. So once I left school and I came back to work, the regional secretary then was not too well. And so I was asked to act. So I acted as a regional secretary. So I garnered some experience too. And then I was voted into office as the regional organizer. Those of you who know Grandpa Thomas Jampoma, Doctor.
All right, so Richard, I think you can proceed. Thank you. Hello, Rich, you are muted. So kindly unmute and go ahead, please. All right, thank you.
Okay,
and
thank you.
If you can also turn off your video so that we could hear you. I think your network is not too stable. So if you can turn off your video.
Thank you. All right, the video is off. So whilst I served as the secretary, Grandpa was president, Dr. Thomas Jampoma was president. And I remember one evening he called me and said, we are going to Menshia, so write a speech. And then I organized myself, put one together, I sent it to him. And his comment was, excellent, my boy, you have done well. I was super proud. And then I eventually became the organizing secretary. Of course, you know the width and breadth of Ashanti. It was a very difficult terrain, but largely we did extremely well. And then I became a chapter chairman. Of course, I served 2 terms as a chapter chairman. We tried to organize, mobilize, give a lot of visibility to us, and eventually became the regional chairman. And when I was regional chairman, the proudest thing our team did was that we were able to set up an office and furnish an office. And I think we were the first region that had an office set up and furnished. And that office is functional as of now. And I think that other regions are learning from us. So yes, these are about a few of the things that under my leadership, we were able to do in the Ashanti region. Ashanti region was very strong, and it remains very strong in the space of GAMS. It's been largely because of its size, its people, and then its leadership. We are very proactive. We speak our mind, but one of the things that I think we have done well is that we have been very respectful of ourselves and also of the system. So that's about it.
All right, thank you very much. Rich, I will hold on with my questions here, but think about these two whilst I open the floor. I'll come back to you shortly. Whilst I was also preparing, I had to also Google and then find out some few things about you. One of the things that I found was that you have a lot of papers to your credit. ResearchGate, a lot of publications and citations. But there's one interesting work that fascinates me about patterns of hernia and their hematological profiles. A work that you did. So think about it. I'll come later and then we have a conversation about it. One of the issues that I also did not find in your account has to do with your contribution as a faculty member of the West African Postgraduate College of the Medical Laboratory Science. I also learned that you're a secretary to the Faculty of Hematology as a regional faculty officer. So I'll come back to you and then we'll have a discussion on this too. But in the meantime, let me open the floor and then invite contributions and the question from our colleagues on call. I can see 3 hands up. Let me give the opportunity to, I think, Professor Rebecca Boston, which you introduced. You are warmly welcome. At this point, you can, you have the floor, please. Your contributions, your questions. You are welcome. Hello, Prof. I think
Professor
your
Baston,
mic.
please unmute. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for Richard's contribution over the years, and thank you for acknowledging me. There are just a few things I wanted to say. In the first place, Richard, you have the sharpest eyes on the planet. The idea that someone in Kenya needed to affirm that, to me, is absurd, but I'm sure that it was good for you to be affirmed. But you are the best microscopist in the whole world, as far as I'm concerned. One thing I wanted to note was when you were talking about the transition between being a bench person to being in academia, our pathways are very similar in that sense. But one thing I think that has helped my more recent colleagues is when they've come from the practicing laboratory into academia, they've maintained the ability to cover some of the cover shifts at some of the local hospital labs. And I know you're familiar with our situation here where the ARUP labs are connected to the university, not unlike how CAF is connected to KNUST, but that they still have the ability to cover some of the call shifts on the weekends, et cetera, to keep their hands dirty, in other words. And I think it really helps their academic potential, their academic progression to be able to continue to practice, even if it's just a few hours every month or so. So I think it's something to consider as you hire in younger people. I still have a hard time with monocytes and lymphocytes, by the way, but I'm old. Thank you very much. I'm going to let other people speak. It was a pure pleasure to be here. I really enjoyed seeing you and hearing you. Thank you much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your contribution. Well, I don't know, Rich, if you have any. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Professor Baston is an awesome person. Like I said, she's a professor in microbiology. I was privileged under in the University of Utah and then Confanoche Hospital and then KNUST. So I was privileged to be in the University of Utah as a visiting scholar. We were many, but I was privileged. I lived with him and then the husband in her house. And so she's very close to me. She's such a sweet person. The husband is Bill, an awesome man. So she knows me very well. She knew me in the beginning stages of my professional life. I remember in I think around 2013 or so, she visited and showed me pictures of us in the lab with her that she took around the 2002, 2003, 2004, thereabout. That is how deep and how she can keep memories and records. So, Prof, thank you very much. Unlike the US, where there is that relationship between practice and academia, here it's not been well established. I would have loved to do at least 2 hours every day in the lab, but we do not have that currently around. So what I did was that when I went to Ho, I walked into the teaching hospital to see the lab manager, and I told him, I have come to the university here. I have capacity to do this, that. I mentioned all that to him. And so there were some tests they were not doing, but because I told them I had capacity to do, they started doing them. And once they had request for that, they would invite me to go and get those things done. And so those are informal discussions that we have had. I go there and render services, but they are not as you are seen by the system as part rendering specialist or specialized services to them. I hope that one day we would get there. In fact, I have been told by colleagues in KNUST that now it is obligatory that every faculty member spend some hours at the teaching hospital. No, not the teaching hospital, the tech hospital. Once you are a faculty member in the Department of Medical Lab Sciences, you spend some time at the tech hospital, and that is scored against you. So I hope that the other institutions would learn from it. I would love to do it any day, anytime. So I look forward to that. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Richard. There's one other thing for your younger people to mention, the frustration of being in academia. If you have been loved on the bench and loved being on the bench, is that it's an adventure. Everything's unknown when you're looking at patient samples. When you get to the teaching laboratory, you're preparing all the samples, you know the answers. So that a lot of that mystery is gone. And that's what we need to put back to maintain our interest, is that mystery in seeing the unknown.
Hello, Rich. Are you around, please? Hello?
Yes, I'm around.
Hello, Rich. Can you hear me, please?
Awesome. Yes, very true. Yes, hello, Bernard.
Oh, I think that we have lost him there.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you, sir. No, you've not lost me, Bernard. I can hear you. Hello.
Hello, Rich. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, please. Yes, I can hear you, Bernard. I can hear you.
All right. Hello, Rich. My network dropped. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Bernard.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Right. So I think that I agree very much with the contributions and the views of Prof. I think that if you're able to relate well with practice and then academia, it's a plus to you. And when I follow through your account, I realized that your days in the lab you have acquired or gathered on the bench has really also contributed to some of the good things that you're really doing. Because I cannot just imagine myself or yourself in the lab for over 18 years. Why wouldn't you be very good on the microscope? So I think that these are the things that going forward we need to look at. So I'm happy that you have also agreed and then started something, but we can also look at it and then have a discussion on it and see how we can also capitalize on it as a country and see how we can blend practice and then academia. All right. So with that said, let me open the floor. I can still see some people stand up. I can see Edward and then Comfort. So Edward, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself and then let's hear from you. Then later on, Comfort would also follow. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the opportunity. But a very quick suggestion. I think moderator, sometimes it will be great for us to limit your questions so that we can have a lot of questions to ask.
Okay, very well noted. Thank you. You can go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Hey, Senior Richard, long time. That's a great story you shared. I think a lot of us can relate. But one quick question. You indicated that you wanted to go to the mining sector. Any regrets looking back? And I also want to say I remember how serious you were on campus, your group, your cohort hematology group, I think 2016, 2017, you were about 4, and you were giving us a lot of pressure, redos in clinical microbiology. You were always the standard. I remember you were asking us to be going to learn from you people, the way you were serious in your presentations and your classes and all those stuff. So any regrets seeing that the mining sector was going to be more resourceful, more profitable than in quotes as we find ourselves?
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for the compliment. You know, when we started the MPhil program, we were the pioneering class. And so the expectation on us was extremely high. And the people who led the program were young people, and they placed so much pressure and then a lot of things on that. And so I think that eventually it inured to our benefit. It inured to our benefit. And so if you saw us serious, that was the reason. I remember when I was writing my final thesis, my supervisor could call me around 1 a.m. and then we would discuss corrections that we had made. He would expect me to send the corrected one to him the next day. So he drops the phone and calls back in 5 minutes. Then when I answer, I said, I thought you were sleeping. If I'm not sleeping, you cannot sleep. That was a kind of thing that we had. And so, yes, it wasn't pleasant. We didn't like it that much, but I think that it was helpful at the end. Coming back to if there are any regrets for not going to the mining sector, the truth is that I was born and raised in a mining community. And so naturally, growing up and seeing the people, what they did, remember, miners are one of the highest paid workers across the world. And so I know people. I told you when I was in school, I went there for attachment. I was paid, and my salary as an attachee was more than what scientists earn there. So one of the considerations I wanted to go there was the money. The money was the motivation. Unfortunately, as fate would have it, when we graduated and this national service thing came, I selected mining companies that I wanted to go and work there. Unfortunately, they threw me to the health sector. I really wanted to go to the industry. I went for interviews in Coca-Cola. Still, it didn't work. I naturally don't want forcing things. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. So once it didn't work, I just dropped all and focused my attention in the health sector. So really, and I have met some beautiful, beautiful people. I have excellent experiences. I have a lot of experiences that I can talk about in my life as a medical laboratory scientist. So I don't think they are regret. They are experiences I have now. Thank you, Eddie.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we'll meet at the other end one of these days. Great presentation.
Sure.
We look up to you for a lot of great things to come. So we'll meet. Thank you very much for the opportunity. A nice presentation once again.
All right, thank you very much. So, Comfort, if you can hear me, you have the floor. Kindly unmute.
Richard, this is Nyameba.
Control over operations.
Hey, I am so glad and happy to be part of your life. And I would say to the younger ones coming, you know, when you work hard,
For example, withdrawing.
you'll be identified. And we identified him. And I thank God he has aspired to greater heights. There's a saying that we haven't achieved anything. But when you go higher than us, then we know we have made it in life. I'm great so grateful, and I'm so happy. I look forward to the day I'll address you, Professor Richard Duneeh. So don't rest. Over.
All right, thank you very much for your kind words. If there are any other questions, please, you can raise your hand. But let me quickly go through the chat and see if there are any questions. Evelyn, I've enjoyed your teaching in UHAS. You are such a great lecturer. You're a role model worth emulating. Good afternoon. Okay, so I think that you have a lot of compliments and kind words from a lot of people. Some are your students, some are your role models, and God bless you. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay, so I can see one question here from Muga Akenyi. It says, hello, from Nairobi, Kenya. How is MSc Biology practiced in the world? I don't know. Rich, I think this is a question I don't know if you will attempt from Muga from Kenya. He wants to find out how MSc Biology is practiced in the world. And I don't actually see any question, but they are all kind words and then compliments to you. So if you can tackle this, then I can see some 2 other hands up. I would invite them, then we proceed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Bernard. I would also want to specially thank Mrs. Comfort Nyameba Opoku. She's one of the people I call mother. She's one of the people who modeled me. I said when I was identified to join this malaria team, she was one of the people who would motivate me, tell you, you can do it, you can do it. And they were the people who guided us into attaining a certification to be experts in the field. And so, Mama Comfort Nyameba Opoku, I am most grateful to you and the others like yourself and the role you have played in our lives. We keep on pushing and we keep on pushing. We hope to attain the highest heights that you expect of us. I am grateful. I also thank the other people on the stream who are saying or giving good compliment. We thank all of you because however you desire to do whatever, if they are not appreciated, they will not amount to anything. And so the delight some of us have is to see that what we teach or what we discuss with people are being impactful on their lives, Bernard, let me give an example. Your class, I remember I taught your class laboratory diagnosis of malaria. And before I came to meet your class, I asked about your class and I was told that your class is a very difficult class. So when I came to the class in the medical school, one of the lecture theaters, so I came and then they told me that when a lecturer comes to your class and is teaching, when it's about 5 minutes to time, everybody will be dragging their feet on the ground to make noise so that the person would go. So I kept teaching. I was very intentional about it and I exceeded the time, but everybody was quiet until I ended my lecture. And then at the end of the lecture, many of you came to me and you were talking to me. I realized that you were impressed and you were happy with the things I taught. And somebody asked me a question. Your lecturers no omutrimu na ediana omo ya bro. Translated as, is it that our lecturers are wicked or they don't know what they teach us? And I said, oh, they are not wicked. They know what they are teaching. In our kind of education, the thinking is that once you do medical lab sciences, you should be a microscopist. Microscopy is a program on its own. It's an art you should be interested in learning. I was taught microscopy. And so if I am teaching you microscopy and I teach you how you not break a slide, if somebody is teaching microscopy and does not know how to teach you that, it doesn't mean that they are being wicked. And so these are some of the things that we hear. And when we hear that people are happy with what we do we are happy. Me, that's what makes me happy. So thank you all for the compliments that you have given.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So I can see two other hands up, Cosby Joe, and then, so Cosby, if you can hear me, kindly, maybe this will be the last set. You
Yes,
open the floor again, then the presentation comes.
yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think Mr. Richard Duneeh, I must appreciate what you have done for us. I am one of the students at the UHAS, and I joined the class late, and I must say I never like you, though, but the pressure that you put on us after the paper, or after everything, checking my scores, what I had, and I said, come on, this must be a good man. So I must say that continue what you are doing. You are very good, and I have developed a very good interest in hematology. And when I grow up, I'll be like, oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much.
No,
Right,
please,
thank
I'm
you.
interested. I was losing you. I didn't hear you. You said you are one of my students, my past students.
Yes, that's yours.
And you said you didn't like me. Why? If I can learn from it, tell me what I didn't do
It
right.
was just a normal student feeling, like the pressure and how we have to know and we are not getting it and you have to put pressure on us. But at the end of the day, when I look at my results, I said, come on, you are very good. So thank you very much for the pressure.
Rich, if I may come in, it's a normal thing with students, especially when you are too disciplined, you are time conscious, the time is up, and then you are there already, and then the students will be definitely, we will dislike you. These are normal things with students, so I think you get it from that point. You are too disciplined, like you say at the end, because you realize that you are really helping them, and so I don't know, I can see another hand, Conrad. Omado, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and then make your point. Then someone will follow. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Granted. And my question I want to ask, I think I have two questions. First one to start. Looking at the medical laboratory space in terms of the scientists and also the world now, what is the big challenge there that pertains to Ghana in terms of practice that upcoming scientists now should take as a bigger duty to ensure the outcome for the to ask is that how well should industry and academia be able to go hand in hand, work together such that the best of scientists are produced, in that when you see a laboratory science or you hear, it actually has a certain positive brand or image in mind for us in Ghana. I think those are.
All right. Thank you very much, Conrad. If I heard you right, the first question is, what are the challenges in Ghana confronting the practice of medical laboratory sciences, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The practices are many. Now, the mind is that we train locally for global use. So there are many of our products. Madam, I'm begging you, madam, I'm begging you, I'm on a program. So we train locally for a global consumption. So there are some of my students who were trained here in Ghana. There are some working in the UK, the US, and others. Now, our design is that we are deficit infrastructurally. Again, many of our training is done abstractly. We do a lot of things abstractly. So you are expected to know this. When you go out there, that's not how they are taught. I went to the University of Utah again. When I went, There are things that we had read in textbooks. I thought that they were not doable, but I was moving from one lab. I had the opportunity to see how bone marrow aspirations are done. I had the opportunity to see flow cytometry. I had the opportunity to go through a lot of labs to see how things are done. And so you appreciate things better than we do here. All right, so our training is in a certain abstract space, and so it makes teaching and learning difficult. That is largely the challenge, and the space again for practice. Now, look, go out there. Many of my colleagues who trained in US, UK, Germany, when they come, they are frustrated. They are frustrated because they come with a lot of skill sets. They think that they should be able to practice. They should be able to teach them here. But then the system does not provide the infrastructure for you to practice. And so we are loaded, but we do not have the opportunity to explode. And so we have become routinist. They have become routinist. Let me give you a typical example. In laboratory diagnosis, all right, of cancers, there are 3 major ways of diagnosis. So you do morphological. Can you hear me? You do morphological examination where you'll be looking at either peripheral blood or bone marrow that have been stained. You do immunophenotyping or cytogenetics. Look, morphological is the least sensitive because it largely depends on the discretion on the one examining. And even that, a lot of our facilities cannot do blood film or are not doing blood film commenting. Immunophenotyping and cytogenetics, they are not done unless somebody is doing some research somewhere. And so, yes, we know the theory, but the capacity or the space to practice, I think, are the largest challenges that we have. Thank you. The other one, you said, the integration of industry and practice. It's a very important thing that we should be having a look at. It looks like there is a disconnect between industry and practice when it comes to the laboratory field. Look, like I told you again, because of my interest in malaria, when I teach you malaria in the university and you come to the bench, there'll be no difference. As I speak to you now, I am out of school on a malaria training program, right? It's because I have expertise and I'm invited once a while. So when I'm teaching my students same topic, it is the same way I'll teach the practitioners. But when you see others teaching malaria, my friend, you see that there is a big gap. For instance, I have my set of slides when I'm teaching. When I'm doing microscopy, I have my slide bank. If I'm teaching hematological malignancies, I have slides for all cases. And so I do microscopy with my student. If I'm teaching malaria, I have my slides, my personal slides for training. And so when I'm doing speciation, I have my set of slides that I'm going to use in speciating. I think that our training should be headed this way, and there should be closer collaboration between practice and industry. And for malaria, I know for a fact that our malaria focal person has brought on board a lot of us academics who are into this malaria business to be involved in malaria stuff so that we are able to implement same in our training institutions. I hope that the other programs would get some of these things so that there should not be so much stress in integrating our products into practice. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Rich, for sharing with us your experiences. Because of time, there are two questions that I'm going to lump them together. After this, we would allow the sponsor to come in with a very short presentation. Rich, I can see some 2 questions in the chat. I think that in the next 2 minutes, if you can throw some lights on the new courses that have been introduced in UHAS in the field of medical laboratory science, the MPhil and the PhD programs. Quickly, if you can throw a little light on it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So I would proudly tell you that UHAS is the destination for health training. So UHAS, we have the medical school, we do medicine, physician assistantship, dentistry. We have the School of Nursing and Midwifery. They do all the nursing programs, the nursing, midwifery, public health nursing, all those is done. We have School of Allied Health Sciences, which would host the Department of Medical Laboratory Sciences. All right, we have dietetics, we have optotics, we have sports and exercise. Look, everything health and allied. UHAS is the destination. We do not deviate from our mandate. So we are strictly health and allied. So that's all we do. We do not do the social sciences and others. So our concentration, the way we teach, the way we would give out, it's very comprehensive. So if any one of you is interested in pursuing any health program, UHAS is the destination. When it comes to programs that we have introduced, currently we are running the 4-year BSc program, but we have introduced the MLS.D. And so the next academic year, we are starting recruiting students into the MLS.D, which is a 6-year program. So if you are interested, please get on board. I also know that there is a place for top-up. So those of you who have the 4-year degree can do a 2-year top-up in UHAS to get your MLS.D degree. We have introduced MPhil, ChemPath, chemical pathology, microbiology, hematology, and transfusion medicine, MPhil. And we have also introduced PhD in ChemPath, PhD in microbiology. These are programs that have been introduced and they are starting next academic year. So if you are interested or you know somebody who will be interested, please encourage them to come. UHAS is a very good destination. Almost everybody lecturing in the department is a practitioner or has practiced for quite a long period of time. And so we are very experienced hands. So it's a destination I would encourage for every one of you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. Please hold on for me. At this point, I would invite the sponsors, Labmart. I believe they are here with us to give us a short presentation. And so, if the representative is here, you would have the floor.
Ben, you may want to make him a co-host. That's Richard Atule.
The name again, please.
That's a spelling, the Richard Atule.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you're a co-host now. So
thank you. So you can share.
Right. So good evening to you all. My name is Richard Atule from Labmart Limited. This is actually my first time on the program, and I must say I am very, very impressed with the knowledge that is being shared by Mr. Richard. It's a very good one. And I want to also use this opportunity to congratulate him for all his efforts in the medical laboratory industry. Labmart Limited is a laboratory supplying company, and we actually supply a wide range of laboratory products. I think I got in touch with Mr. Solomon, that was on Wednesday, to see how Labmart Limited can actually support the GAMS programs. And so fortunately, there was this program coming up, and so he was able to get us on board. So thank you so much, Mr. Solomon, for all the support. But am I able to share some few slides? Hello, Solomon.
Hello, please go ahead. You are a co-host, so you can share.
If you want to share, you can share.
All right,
it's done.
I'm not sure if you can see my slides.
Yes, we can see.
You can see,
Okay.
just put it like in a presentation mode.
Okay, so I think.
All right.
Great. So briefly, I want to touch base on our microbiology product offering, specifically products that we offer for clinical microbiology. We actually offer a wide range of products, but for the purpose of this program, I want to talk briefly about the clinical microbiology range of products. So we actually offer a wide range of products for clinical microbiology, from chrome agar, from oxoid, from biologics, from lyophil-chem, higher biomedical, VWR, and the others. But for the purpose of this program today, we are just going to talk about these few brands that you see on the screen. First of all, I want to talk about microbiology plastics. Sometimes it's challenging to find high quality microbiology plastics that are very clean for microbiology applications. And so Labmart Limited actually offers very clean microbiology plastics that are of medical grade and that are free from all human contaminants, DNS free, RNS free. So we have Petri dishes in various diameters ranging from 60 millimeters, 90 millimeters, 150 millimeters diameter. We also have inoculating loops that are very clean, disposable ones. We also have the reusable ones, if that is what your application requires. And so for the inoculating loops, we have the disposable ones. We have two types. We have the 1 microliter loop size. We have the 10 microliter loop size also. Then we also have centrifuge tubes, very clean ones. These are sterile centrifuge tubes. We have 50 ml and then 50 ml centrifuge tubes. And we also have very good solution for cryogenics, that is ultra low temperature storage. We have cryovials that you can use to store your samples as low as -80 and as low as -196 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, all part of the
And then we also have cell spreaders. We have passeurous pipettes of various capacities. We have Eppendorf tubes or microcentrifuge tubes. We have 0.5 mils, we have 1.5 mils, and then we have 2 mils Eppendorf tubes. And then we also know that handling and managing microcentrifuge tubes are very tedious in the lab because of the fact that the bottom is conical and it cannot stand on its own on the lab bench. So we have a microcentrifuge tube rack that you can actually use to arrange your microcentrifuge tubes in the lab. Then we also have culture media. After collecting your samples, you may want to grow the organisms that you have identified in your samples. And so we have very good quality culture media, dehydrated ones. We have dehydrated ones and then the already prepared ones in Petri dishes. So we have dehydrated culture media from oxoid, a wide range of them for different applications. Because of time constraints, we cannot mention the names of the culture media that we have. We also hold culture medias from lyophil-chem. So for each of the brands, we have both the media and then the supplements. So if your application requires that you actually use supplements, any of the supplements, we actually have a wide range of them to support your clinical applications. Then I would also like to talk briefly about antimicrobial susceptibility testing. This is a very important application for most of the labs because before a doctor would prescribe, the lab scientist certainly would need to know whether the organism that is being isolated is susceptible to the medication or is resistant to the medication. Labmart Limited actually supplies high quality antibiotic discs, not just antibiotic discs, but we have antifungals as well in different drug concentrations. So if you ever need any antibiotic discs at any concentration, of course, all these antibiotic discs conform to the CLSI guidelines. And so certainly, I'm very sure that you are all familiar with the CLSI guidelines. And so any antibiotic discs that you are looking for your ASC testing, Labmart Limited has it. Not just antibiotic discs, but we also have MIC strips. So MIC strips that can enable you measure your MIC values, your minimum inhibitory concentration values. Very, very easy. And you can actually rely on the quality and then the specificity of the results that you get. The antibiotic discs and the MIC strips that we offer.
I always struggle when preparing it. So maybe I'm struggling when I'm preparing it. But the one technique is that you shouldn't allow.
Okay. Then we also move to microbiology instruments. We have a wide range of instruments for microbiology. Anaerobic gas systems. So we have anaerobic gas packs and then the anaerobic jars that you can use to create an anaerobic environment to actually grow your anaerobic organisms. And then customers that are having budgetary concerns with the professional anaerobic systems can actually improvise with the Petri dish canister. I see quite a number of labs use the Petri dish canister together with candles to actually grow anaerobic organisms in the lab. And so we have Petri dish canisters, and then we also have a wide range of Petri dishes, the glass. And these glass Petri dishes that we offer, the difference is that the glass Petri dish that we offer is autoclavable. So you can heat it and then reuse a couple of times without it cracking. You'll find a lot of Petri dishes in the market that you use once and it cracks and it spills off your sample. That is a very bad experience. And so Labmart Limited actually is very careful about the kind of materials that we offer to our clients. When you are looking for quality, Labmart Limited, that is exactly what we offer. And then we also have autoclavable media bottles. So after you have prepared or you are preparing your media, you need to autoclave. You need bottles that are resistant to high temperatures that you can safely seal the cork without any spillage. So we have various ranges of them, ranging from sizes that are not even indicated on these slides. So we have 50 mil, 100, 250, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and even up to 20,000 mils. We have all these bottles available in stock. And these bottles come in clear and then amber. So if you are working with samples that are light sensitive, you may want to go in for the amber bottles. Then I would also want to spend some few time to talk about our various equipment offerings under microbiology. We have biological safety cabinets. We have class 1, we have class 2, and then we have class 3. All these are very good quality products. And for the equipment that we offer, I would like to add that we don't just sell them. We sell them, we conduct the installation, and then we do the training. And we make sure that we give you a 1 year's manufacturer's warranty on all our equipment. It's not just the 1 year, but even after the 1 year, if you happen to have any challenge with any equipment that you purchase from Labmart Limited, we are always available to support you throughout your applications. So aside the safety cabinet, we also do sterilization equipment. We do autoclaves. The autoclaves, we have fully automated ones, the floor standing. And then we also have the tabletop ones in various capacities. And then we also have an economic model autoclave. So all these autoclaves, you don't need to use your own timer. You just need to fill the tank with enough distilled water, put your materials in it, set the temperature and set the time, and focus your attention on your other works that you are doing in the lab. When the autoclaving process is complete, the autoclave will stop and the lid will automatically open. The very good thing about these autoclaves is that the distilled water that you fill into the tank can be reused several times. And when the level is gone below the set point, the autoclave will give you a notification. Then you can refill. So it is not something that you have to worry about source of water supply in your lab and you have to connect taps to your autoclave and all that. No, you just have to fill enough, about 5 liters distilled water in your autoclave tank, and then you leave the rest to the autoclave. You can use this distilled water for several cycles of sterilization without having to worry about refilling. And then we also have water baths, various capacities of water baths. And then we have incubators, we have ovens. All these products are products that we actually have in stock. And these products, we understand that they are products that measure and operate based on set parameters, temperature. So these products can actually be calibrated by Ghana Standards Authority. Most of our products have passed calibration through Ghana Standards Authority without any issue at all. So if you are looking for precision equipment that will give you reliable results, then don't look any further than Labmart Limited. Then lastly, I would like to spend some few minutes to talk about our cold chain storage offerings. We actually offer a wide range of cold storage products. So we know that there are a lot of temperature sensitive reagents that you need to store in a refrigerator or a freezer in your lab. Labmart Limited carries a wide range of freezers and refrigerators in our portfolio. And all these products come from Higher Biomedical, which really produces high quality laboratory equipment, especially the cold chain storage solutions. So we have 2 to 8 degrees refrigerators. So a refrigerator that you can store your samples in within 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. This is not a blood bank refrigerator, but of course, you can store blood samples inside it without any issue at all. Since the temperature range is between 2 to 8, you'll be able to set your temperature to +4. I think the blood storage temperature range is between plus or minus 4 degrees Celsius. So you can set your temperature to plus or minus 4 degrees Celsius. And the freezer compressor would make sure that it holds or it operates within that temperature to keep your blood samples very safe. We also have -30 freezers. Those are categorized under the ultra low temperature freezers, the ULT freezers. We have -40, we have -60, we have -86, and then we also have cryogenic freezers, the -150 or -150. All these are products that we offer. Now, lastly, we talk about cryogenic storage accessories, cryogenic storage consumables. We actually hold a wide range of cryogenic vials that are specially made to store samples within ultra low temperatures. If you store samples, if you use EDTA tubes or any of the vacuum tubes to collect sample and store that sample under -86 freezer, you are likely to have that tube crack because the tube is not made to withstand such ultra low temperatures. So there are special tubes that are made and we call them cryovials or cryogenic tubes. We have various types of cryogenic tubes. We have cryogenic tubes that can store samples as low as -86. We have some too that can store samples as low as -150 and some too as low as -192, or under the gas phase of liquid nitrogen. And all these tubes, you can actually arrange them very nicely in your cryo boxes so that you can take inventory of these tubes in your freezer. So these are some of the products that I would like to share with you. And then I also like to add that if you are ever doing your project, if you are ever doing maybe your thesis in your PhD or your master's, if you're ever doing your research work and you are looking for how to find reagents, especially reagents under molecular biology, sometimes it's difficult to find those reagents like ELISA kits, like enzymes, like master mixes for PCR. All these products are products that Labmart Limited offers. You just need to get in touch with us and to make sure that we support you throughout your project needs. I think time is not on our side. I'll bring my presentation to an end. Thank you so much for the time that you've given to Labmart Limited. to present. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. I think that there are some few questions. A lot of people are asking about your contacts, your location. If you could share that briefly, then if there are any other questions, then we can.
Okay, so Labmart Limited, we actually have 2 locations. We have an office in Tamale. So in Tamale, you would find us in the same premises as the MTN main office building in Tamale. It's a very popular place. It's just along the Bank of Ghana Street. And so you would find us there. And then you also find us in Accra. We have an office too in Accra. We are located along the Racecourse Street, closer to the George Bush Highway, number 10 Racecourse Street, closer to the George Bush Highway. If you go to Google and then you search for Labmart Limited, you'll find us there, and you can use the Google location or the Google Maps to actually locate our premises. For our contact numbers, I will leave it under the charts, and then I'll also add my email address to it, so that if you want to send me a request, or if you want us to discuss about any project that you have, you can send me an email directly, and then I'll be glad to respond. So I have sent my email address to the chats, and then phone number too.
All right, so I think, yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
So I've also included our website. You can also check on our website, although we don't have products listed on our website, but we have categories of products that we actually deal in that is showcased on our website.
All right, thank you very much. So maybe you can also share that with the secretary, Dr. Kwashi, and
okay,
we could also share it on our various platforms. Okay, so at this point, I'll open the floor for 2 questions. Because of time, I'll limit it to 2 questions. If anybody has any question on this presentation or our sponsor, let's have it. Then I'll hand over back to Dr. DJC and Dr. Kwashi. Okay, let me go to the chat and see if there is any. Still. Okay, so somebody somebody didn't know about you until today. Okay, your contact has been shared. So in the future, if you need anything, you can contact. So I think there are no questions. So thank you very much for the presentation. And at this point, like I said, kindly share the contact information with Dr. Kwashi so that it can also be shared on our various platforms. So at this point, I'll hand over back to Dr. DJC and Dr. Kwashi. I believe that our guest is still with us. Then we conclude and then close. Thank you very much. So over.
Yeah, Bernard, thank you very much for the great contribution, and thanks to Richard of Labmart to also expose us to some of the great things they are having around. We will encourage people to contact them anytime they are in need. I have personally worked with Richard, and I know they are very responsive. So there's one person who will call you day, night, afternoon, anytime, and get clarification, and will send you quick responses. So let's get to them for our lab needs, and I know that they will serve us better. So Solo was engaged. I don't know if he's around and could speak. Else, we want to thank Dr. Richard Duneeh for the great thing and the contributions he's brought. And we will say that we will definitely learn a lot from him. Thanks to everybody for coming up.
All right, Dr. Kwashi, I can see your hand up, so you can take over.
So just to say a big thank you to our guest for today, and a big thank you to the team, Bernard and Dr. Edugesi, for always making themselves available to enrich the program. We also thank Labmart for sponsoring this program, and I know that the conversation will go much more than this, and Labmart may even adopt this program for sponsorship in the long term. So we encourage all of us to do business with Labmart so that they can equally support the profession. We are grateful for the time spent with us. Thank you. All right, Bernard, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. So, Dr. Duneeh, I don't know if you are still there. All right.
Yeah,
So your
I'm
last
here.
words. Your last words, then we conclude and close.
Okay, my last words. This is a word of encouragement to all of us. One of the things that makes some institutions or organizations tick is the respect for hierarchy and then respect for authority. Look, when you come into academia, we respect hierarchy. So if I'm a lecturer and somebody is a senior lecturer, even if there is a mail that is being flown around, his name would come up before my name comes down. If it is not done that way, it will be returned to whoever did it. That is how we respect hierarchy. When you go into the military or any of the services, they respect hierarchy. One of the things I have observed over the period in our lab is that if I'm a lab scientist of 20 years work experience, you're a lab assistant or a lab scientist too. You think that because we all have degree, we are co-equals. Please and please, let's respect our seniors. Seniors, let's hold our juniors up and let's mentor them up. Look, today you may be the boss, tomorrow you will not be there. Today you may be a young professional, tomorrow you may be the boss. So please and please, let's hold our hands together. Let's try and develop ourselves together. Let's be actively involved in association issues. Let's respect our leadership and let's take orders and instructions when they are necessary for them so that we would occupy the space that we have together as medical lab scientists. Thank you very much. God bless all of us and God bless GAMS.
All right, thank you very much, Rich, for your time and sharing your thoughts and experiences with us. We are very much grateful for your contribution to the profession and also in the training and the modeling of the junior professionals in academia. I would also want to thank everyone who has been on call from the very beginning up to this point. And then to our sponsors, Labmart, we are very much grateful for your support and then your assistance. Let's do business with them. So Secretary would, Dr. Kwashi would be sharing the information like Dr. Dujesi also said, and let's try and do business with them when we need them. Thank you very much. So we will draw the curtains. We hope that in our subsequent episode, we would all join, contribute, and then make the program a successful one. At this point, thank you very much. We'll meet again. Bye-bye.